call the policy committee meeting for Monday, October 20th, 2025. All rise, join me for the pledge of allegiance if you wish.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Okay.
Right out. Can we have a roll call vote, please? A roll call attendance. Sorry, roll call.
Yeah.
Will McIntosh.
Present.
Crystal Panucci. Chris Jakubowski.
Here.
Jonathan Gerloff.
Here.
Shannon Holmes.
Here.
Drew Mullen.
Here.
Laura Hay.
Here.
Meg Bomke.
Here.
Greg Kenyon.
Here.
Dante Diggs.
Here.
Joe Stansby.
Yeah.
Sure, we have a quorum.
Thank you. And I guess we note that we have a couple of alternate members here, right? I was supposed to
Yes,
note that, Mr.
so we have Supervisor Diggs on behalf of Dr. Young and
Sainsbury.
yes, Mr. Sainsbury on behalf of Schneider.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
They are all formal.
Right.
Alternate.
Yeah. So we have item 4, approval of the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? All right, agenda is adopted. Go on to item 5, public involvement. Do we have any members of the public who would like to? Committee. Thanks.
Members of the policy board, my name is Alan Watkins, I live in the George Washington district of staff. They also know me as a member of CTAC, but this evening primarily I'm just speaking as a member of the general public. As you know, it can be quite wordy. I had trouble trying to sneak this in underneath the 3-minute time limit Saturday morning. 747-page draft that you're going to be voting on to send out to the public for more comments is pretty complete, but not fully complete. Final task given to the consultant, the culmination of all the work was to determine the final route for the option C corridor. They had witnessed 3 option C routes, their own original one, then the CTAC route, and finally the FAMPO staff option C. Also to establish an updated detailed cost estimate. Neither the new option C corridor nor the itemized cost estimate is within that 740 pages that the public would have access to for their public comments. Cost estimate is located in the summary presentation slideshow you'll see. The option C corridor route drawing is not. It doesn't help very much looking at the estimate without seeing where the line is drawn on the map. Summary presentation identifies both the city staff and staff from both counties have had the opportunity to review all the information. This is the first time that I have seen the itemized estimate and still haven't seen the location for the option C corridor. That information was not made privy to. It's been explained to me a few times that this information is not important because as soon as the NEPA process starts with all the options except option D back on the table, that VDOT will determine a route potentially likely different from the previous option study. And of course, the cost will be different. So why put out all that information when it just might rile up the general public? No one wants that to happen, right? My concern is that for transparency's sake, that the public should have this final piece of the consultant's work made available to them, especially when we're going into a public comment period. And all the new public engagement that's going to be received should be included in whatever finally gets sent to VDOT to start the NEPA process. Just inform the public, like it says in the summary presentation, that all of this preliminary, that it's part of the Pell process necessary to get the NEPA ball rolling. So, hey, members of the public, this is really just the start. So keep your shirt up. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins.
Fredericksburg, talk about the bridge. It's often said that the true definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result each time. It might hold true when it comes to building a new road and a new bridge over the Rappahannock River. Just look at the history of automobile transportation in this region in the last 50 years. We built new roads and a new bridge, and the traffic keeps getting worse. We know for more than a century that the definition of a road is traffic generator. Build it and they shall come. Unfortunately, the culture of our local, regional, and national transportation system is built on the personal automobile rather than on a much more efficient and less costly public transit system. We're instead planning to spend $300 million on another road and another bridge that surely, if history is any guide, will be obsolete almost as soon as it is finished. Build it and they will come. Just look at the money, the new roads, the hope, and the dashed expectations that spending and building more roads will make things better. How has that worked so far here? Locally, we still have some of the worst transportation problems in the country. I have a different suggestion. Take that almost $300 million and spend it on two things. One, a better public transportation system, one that would be cost efficient and time efficient and widely preferable by almost everyone to driving a personal vehicle. And also spend it on a smarter, better growth. Let's stop the urban sprawl that has marred the area, resulting in more traffic, more congestion, more noise, more taxes, and less quality of life for residents in this area. Let's instead concentrate on the personal, concentrate on growth on planned communities, less dependent on the personal automobile. And let's concentrate on actual regional cooperation for a change between cities and counties when it comes to growth. Such cooperation will benefit, not harm, the best interests of everybody who lives here. Just as with unaffordable housing, we have learned the hard way that a huge increase in the number of homes, as we've had here, has not helped. Okay, at the local growth, all that has come, especially given that so much of the growth is unplanned and uncoordinated, all the growth has accomplished with all the new residents is to make traffic even worse. Likewise, another road, another bridge, all it will do is waste a lot of the hard-earned tax dollars, and it won't fix the problem that hard-earned tax dollars have never fixed when it comes to accommodating private automobile. So let's spend the money, the taxpayers' dollars, yours and mine, instead of on what works. Better, smarter, coordinated growth and better, smarter, and efficient public systems, and not a new $300 million bridge. Thank you.
Dr. Brock? Any other members that have public present? To write out, do we have any comments that have been submitted?
Yes, we have a few. This one's from Anonymous. Bus stop, covers, more sidewalks and more crosswalks. This is from Ann Knockler. Please consider the needs of low-income neighbors. In PD 16, there is no reliable transportation options for daily commuters to local jobs, healthcare appointments, grocery shopping, court dates. More than 30% of local eviction cases end in default judgment in favor of the landlords. One reason why defendants might not attend that important hearing is a lack of transportation. From Drew Wilcox. I used to bike frequently out the White Oak Road back in 2024, but I had to stop after numerous near crash experiences. On White Oak, I had three bad options: bike on the road, on the grassy ditch, or the thin in between where cars whizzed past, and one bad bump could mean injury or death. Difference between life, death, and injury can be as simple as proper sidewalks. The county can pay for that once or pay for the rest of someone's natural life. From Keisha Whiting. Fredericksburg needs better bus systems similar to Omnilink or buses that are in more urbanized areas. And then Tom Gregory of Stafford says get cars off the road. And that concludes the public comment.
Chair, just to note, the reason why we get these handwritten ones is because Eugene does a lot of farmers markets and visits to the library, and we do information tables where people can actually write their comments there and then. So we like that. That's why they're sort of unusual and handwritten.
And Mr. Lang was at the Porter branch this month, right? As I recall.
Yeah, there was a long list. Actually, it's been I'm gonna say 8 information tables over the last while, so it's been quite a lot.
Let's move on to item 6, the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? All right, the consent agenda passes. All right, item 7,
Thank
the
you.
administrator's report, Mr. Alice.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully some better news today, the administrator's report. If you can move on straight away to the next slide. So we're starting the slow process of developing the 2055 long-range transportation plan for FAMPO. When I arrived here, guess how many years ago?
3, 4.
5. I literally arrived here next week. I arrived here 5 years ago, next week. So this is the last, well, actually.
That's what I.
Cakes required, thank you. So
Wood anniversary.
I've survived 5 years. So when I arrived here last time, FAMPO was halfway through the process of developing the 2050 long-range plan. So now I'm here to witness the start of the process to develop the 2055 long-range plan. And we've started to do this. It's one of the things that we get funding for. So one of the things we have to be asking ourselves is, what is our overall vision? What is it that we want to achieve in the region? And then we develop that vision through the long-range plan. Next slide. What are our region's needs? We last time, and I hope we'll do it again, is to put out a survey, and don't worry, I will bring you the survey questions to approve before we do the survey.
Thank you. Thank you.
But we really do want to get the general public's views on the transportation system, what the public really wants, what the needs are, and then we'll work on together with you all and the TAC and the CTAC and the BPAC, our FAMPO committees, developing the new long-range plan. But we need to ask the question, what are the needs? And even tonight, we've heard comments about what the needs are. So that's what we need to be looking at. Next slide. There's some elements we might want to consider. What are the issues we need to address? How could the region look in future if we did implement this plan that we're going to develop? Should we have a name or a logo? Some MPOs, Metropolitan Planning Organizations, choose a name for the, so it's not called the FAMPO Long Transportation Plan 2055. Lots of places adopt a name, Move 2055, Vision 2055, or Mobility 20, or whatever. So think about that if you want to give it a name. Do we want a long-range transportation plan glossy summary doc? The current LRTP is over 900 pages. And the public have difficulty in accessing information in the document because it's so long and cumbersome. We've already suggested to the TAC that we cut it down. The appendices, some of them are unnecessary. The one is the whole smart scale scoring mechanism. It doesn't need to be attached to the long range plan. We can just put a link where people can get to the document if they want it. We don't need the whole darn thing. It makes it very cumbersome. So we're thinking of streamlining the LRTP and also producing a short summary document, which just gives the high points that you can make lots of copies of and give to the public with links in the document as to where to find the details so that people have more access to the thing and it doesn't gather dust. Effectively, when you have a 900-page document, it's really only VDOT and VRPT and ourselves that read the thing because it's just too much for everyone to observe. I think there was one other person that read the 2051, which I know of, and that's Rupert Farley. And the reason I know that is he gave us the typo errors in a list from page 1 to page 9. I was like, he read this thing. He's the only person I know who read it cover to cover. And then, should it be more compact and punchy? We're suggesting maybe it should. Still have all the important information in. We're not going to leave out any of the required information, but maybe just easier to digest. Next slide. Timeline. So we're beginning now with the preparation in 2055. During 2026, we're going to produce the draft document, the chapters, all of the data. The one-time constrained item is the what we call the constrained long-range plan. And that is the document that has got the list of all of the projects that we intend to build in the next, well, from now until 2055. That particular list has to be fiscally constrained, which means we've got to identify the funding sources that we're going to use to fund all of those documents. And it's a complicated process. We have to talk to Federal Highways and VDOT and DRPT and all of the people that we applied to funding to get an estimate of what they think our funding in the future is going to look like. And then we have to include projects that we would spend that money on. So it's a bit of a process, but we have a fixed date because there's a clock that runs on the CLRP. We don't get 5 years to redo it. We have to do it every 4 years, and that clock runs out in December 2026. So that's the only fixed date that we have to abide by. We will need a new constrained long-range plan. So we'll be starting in January, calling for projects that localities wish to include, our transit operators, projects that they wish to include, and then we'll be reaching out to all of the funding sources that we apply to get estimates on how much funding will be available. And then from the beginning of 2027 will be the review period. We'll give you the documents to review, all of our FAMPO committees. We'll put them out for public comment. And then by about May in 2027, we hope to approve the new long-range plan. I will tell you that FAMPO was the first MPO in Virginia to actually approve their 2050 long-range plan. So we've always been a bit ahead of the curve. A year and a half later, some people were still working on their long-range plan. So we're a bit ahead of the curve. So there's no stress about the timeline. We can, take our time and do it properly. The only date that we have to stick to is that we have to get the constrained long-range plan done by December 2026, the legal requirement. Next slide. So we've had a first stab at slightly condensing it. So those are the chapters that we're proposing and the appendices we're proposing. At the moment, there's something like 12 appendices, and we think that some of those can be combined with the chapters so that we don't have to have so many appendices on the end of this document, which makes it really long. We're just letting you know all of this to show you that we've started work on it, and we're honoring the legal requirements and also the funding that we've been given to do the long-range plan. We're working on it in the background. Next slide. So the region thanks you all for your service and for your future service as we develop this new long-range plan. And that's just a fun illustration there. We hope you don't all walk your dogs by dragging the lump along in the, I think that's a Mitsubishi Pajero or something over there. Anyway.
Oh,
Show
I
it.
think that might be a Hughes dog.
Yeah, I would agree.
My dog's laid down.
It's become a famous photograph in transportation planning, that one where you take your dog for a walk by car.
It also has Ohio license plate. I'd point out, so it's not. Yeah.
Let's make
Yeah,
travel
there.
better. Next slide.
Didn't he?
So Safe Streets for All, the federal funding program, just to give you a very brief update. The 2024 grant, we were told that we were awarded the grant to do road safety audits on River Road, Brock Road, Orange Plank Road, and study the crash reduction benefits on those particular streets and some countermeasures to improve safety on those streets. We were told we were awarded the contract, the grant. We received the draft contract. We signed the draft contract. We sent it back. And then the federal government, the new administration, announced that they were pausing these contracts to review them. And we've been frequently asking for updates, and we haven't yet got any further information. So officially, we've been awarded the grant, but it's been many months that there's been a pause. 12 months pause on the contract. We don't have it yet. So we can't proceed until they, and every time we ask, they tell us it's not dead. There's just a federal review on the go. So we have to wait and see. The new one, the FY25 project, is for shoulder hardening and safety edges on 32 miles of the high entry network in rural 2-lane roads in Spotsylvania, Robert Ely Drive, Brock Road, Orange Blank Road, River Road in Stafford, Garrisonville, Poplar Road, etc. Tidewater Trail multimodal and safety improvements. I'm sure you all know about the safety issues there. And then there was a companion demonstration project at the Massaponax High School to teach youth about safety on our transportation system. This one, we're waiting on the award. We got a letter, which we seem to get every cycle, saying, would we accept a partial award if they gave it to us? And we spoke, because that particular project elements affected Spotsylvania, we spoke to Spotsylvania staff, and essentially the feeling is that we shouldn't accept a partial award, because the partial award is only for the educational element. And so we wrote back to them and said, really, we think that the educational element must go along with the infrastructure. And we would prefer to receive a full grant. And so they said, thanks for the input. No decision has been made yet on the FY25 round. They will let us know once the decisions have been made. So that's where we are with that. Next slide. FXB Go. You'll remember last month I showed you the ridership on VRE and Amtrak, and I compared it with 2019, which was before COVID. So I've done the same thing here for the last few months, May, June, July, August. You can see there the ridership numbers for 2019, and you can also see the ridership numbers for 2025. And it's a little bit of good news, right? I often have to tell you about drop in ridership. Well, this shows an actual increase in ridership, not over last month or last year, but an increase over 2019. So that's actually good news. Yes, it is fare free at the moment, but the strategies that the bus operator has been engaging in seem to be working, because they're exceeding pre-COVID ridership levels. So people are riding the bus statistically. And there you can see the percentage over 2019 up to 124, 26, depending on the month. So you can see that, the red line is the latest numbers, the 2025 numbers.
Can I ask a question about that real quick?
You may.
How does that relate to population growth? Is this a growth that mirrors the growth in population over the last 6 years, or is ridership growing faster than possible?
I don't want to answer that without the information. Okay. So I will find that out and I will bring it to you at the next meeting, but I can't off the top of my head do it, because then I might just tell you a lie. Okay. So let me just get the actual population growth statistics and we can have a look at that. Next slide. So I called up in September Jamie and her deputy director, and I said, can you today just go outside and take some photos of people on the buses? Because the statistics tell us that there are a lot of people riding the buses, but people do say that sometimes they see an empty bus. So I made them go and take photos for us. And you can see that's the Eagle Express, the one that goes past the university and to Central Park, Route 12. Next slide. There's a route to Stafford, D5, which I believe is going to be renamed now, Jamie, with the new launch here. And then Route 15. So these are just a sample of the buses on that morning that I called them. I said, please just take photos. And people kindly agreed to have their photo taken. And so just some, illustrative examples that there are, but some buses that are full or nearing full. Next slide. CMAC and STGB, you know some of this already. That's the congestion mitigation and air quality funds, the surface transportation block grant funds, and the carbon reduction funds. We need to allocate those in March and April. So we've set some deadlines. Transit projects, the deadline is November the 15th. Roadway, bike and ped deadlines are December the 15th from all our applicants, which are the 3 jurisdictions, plus our transit operators. That estimate there total is round about what we think the amount is going to be that we can allocate, but that is not definite. When VDOT has made the allocations, we will give you the correct numbers. That's just a very rough guess as to the amount of funding that's available. If they have received less money from the federal government or the gas tax money has been dropping, again, it might not be as much as that. It could be a little more than that, but it's something like that. And that represents 2 years worth of funding, not 1 year's worth of funding, because we now allocate money every 2 years. And the jurisdictional portion of that, as you can see, is going to be about 6.8 million or something like that. Please don't take these as the final numbers, because we don't know them until March, when VDOT will give us the final numbers. But it's just a rough idea of what the funding is going to look like. Next slide. Final slide in your pack today is the river crossing final report and the refined cost estimate. This is the last document from the study, right? This is the final report, which is why it's so long. It's supposed to include all the steps and the process, all of the public comment, etc. We're not asking you to approve the report today. We'll just be asking you to put it out for public comment. It is with the jurisdictions and VDOT, together with the cost estimate and so on, and we will receive comments back. And so we'll make those edits and tweaks and whatever else before we bring it back to you for final approval. And also, of course, if you have edits or comments or whatever, please send them to us. John will tell you just now that the consultant is coming to your November meeting to answer any final questions you have or any issues that have arisen. TAC has scheduled 3 workshops to work on our smart scale program. We're really trying hard to improve our rate of funding for projects in this round 7 of smart scale. And so we're hosting these workshops to try and work with our colleagues in the various jurisdictions and state partners to try and get the best that we can out of the system. As I was requested to last month, I have asked the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority for the information regarding the Virginia state Amtrak subsidies. I haven't got an answer, but I have made the request. And then finally, there is a little scheduling question that I need to ask you to answer for me. We're in one of those unfortunate situations where there aren't 30 days between this meeting and the November meeting. And we commit always to do 30 days of public comment. So that means we'll have a couple of options. The one option is for you to mandate your executive to adopt the report after the meeting. So the meeting will happen in November. There'll be public hearings. There will be the consultant there to answer the questions, but we can't adopt it on that day because we've got to give like 2 more days of public comment because there aren't exactly 30 days between the 2 meetings. So you can either give your executive the authority to adopt it 3 days later, which is the 3 chairs. So the chair, the 2 vice chairs, or you can adopt it, wait and adopt it in January, but it's, you know, the meeting is late in January, so it will be quite a while before you do that. But you can give me guidance on how you'd like to do it, but that's just a wrinkle that happens with the calendar. It's got nothing to do with anything else other than the calendar. It's just that's the way, because our meetings are always on a Monday, and that's the way the calendar falls.
Does it require the chair and the vice chairs to have a separate meeting?
Yes.
To do it?
In person, or can that happen virtually?
I would say it needs to be in person, but we could, you know, as long as we announce that we're having a meeting, so if anybody wants to attend, we can do it at any time. It doesn't have to be on a Monday evening. It could be whatever time suits the 3 chairs. As long as we notify everybody that we're doing it. We can't do it in secret. It has to be.
Yeah.
We don't have a meeting in December, is that
No.
correct?
What's the
Okay.
risk?
Historically, we've never had a December meeting.
Is there any risk in doing it in January?
There's no risk, but you will see that Becky will be making a presentation about a grant application, which we will need to attach this document to if we go ahead with the grant application. But we think that the closing date for the call for submissions will be at the end of January. So we think it's okay, but we haven't seen the NOFO issued yet. So we can't say for absolute certain what date it will be.
So this is a decision we can make at the November meeting,
Yeah.
so, right?
You can make the-
Because we should have some clarity.
Correct, you can
Right.
make the decision at the
about
November meeting.
These grant deadlines.
I'm just alerting you to the fact that the next meeting will not be 30 days. And so I don't want to cut it short. The public needs 30 days to comment.
But, Mr. Chair, thank you, but given that, the document does not have, a cost estimate in there, for option C, the board may make a decision to defer this.
So the cost, the
We
document,
can talk about that when you get to that.
there's a cost estimate in there. But we have a revised cost estimate. The two separate items.
Yeah, sure.
Is that a minimum amount of days?
You can make it longer, there's no.
We advertise now, and that'd be the time to make a decision at the next meeting. No.
No,
It's
that's
not
what he's
30
saying.
No, if it's not from now until because of the way the.
You can make the
It might be
public,
28
you can make the public comment period longer,
longer.
but you can't make it shorter because we've written into our public engagement documents that we will do 30 days.
And if we did make it longer, it'd be into January, right?
Yeah.
Episode.
Yeah.
Just have a separate meeting.
Yeah.
Or you just, the three of you have a separate meeting, but then at the November meeting, you would all mandate the executive to adopt it, right?
I would prefer the whole committee adopted it if that,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I.
so we,
prefer
I mean, that,
everybody do that, but if it's can we table this discussion until we talk about the build grants? Because I think
sure,
once we know a little bit more about what that funding
Yeah.
opportunity is, we might have a little more sense of
you
how
can,
strongly we feel about that.
you can table it till your November
Yeah,
meeting.
right, no, I know, but maybe we'll address it again in the context
Okay.
of that conversation.
As you like.
Yeah.
And that's the end of my report. So unless there are questions, I'm happy to. Next.
All right, let's get item 8A, action specialized Long Bridge service modifications. Mr. McLaughlin here.
Is,
Thank you for coming, sir.
What are you opening up there?
As you like, you can stand in front of the screen and point out things on the screen if you like.
Sure. So hi, I'm Michael McLaughlin, Chief Operating Officer, Virginia Passenger Rail Authority. Some of you, obviously Meg, Jan and others, or know me. I'm on the operations board with them. Thank you for having me here. Some of you who are on the operations board have seen much of this already. We've talked about much of this already, but we wanted to, so DJ Stadler couldn't be here. He's actually meeting with FRA, Federal Railroad Administration. At this time, couldn't be here tonight. So I'm stepping in for him. He came to see your TAC committee.
You did, yes.
So I thought I should give the update to the full board. So I'm gonna go move forward through this. Feel free to stop me. I actually prefer a dialogue more than just talking at people. Keep questions, raise your hand, shout it out, whatever you like. What do you want to point out lower right? Does anyone know where that is?
station.
Leland Road, yeah. This picture is being taken from Leland, the Leland platform. That's the Leland Road. We're gonna talk about that a little bit. I'm here more to talk about construction that's upcoming, especially further north, outside of your area, that's gonna impact Erie and Amtrak trains. So I'm not gonna spend much time on this. I think most people know why we need rail investment. I think we can all agree, nobody loves traffic. Traffic stinks. Doesn't matter what where you come from in Virginia, traffic's never great. So I'm not gonna spend much time on these. These slides are available to everyone, right? So do want to point out for those who don't know, back in 2019, then in 2021, we have agreements with CSX that are somewhat groundbreaking, and that we are owning some rail lines. And we actually own rail lines through Stafford. We own half of the corridor right now through Stafford. It's a long story. We own one half. CSX owns the other half. And we'll soon be doing that in the Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania, and other areas soon. We're working on survey work and other things of that nature. Key down here is one we're talking about right now. If you take trains north, actually more importantly, if you take trains south coming south, if one train's out of slot, one train's late, train an hour later might be an hour late. So what we're planning to fix is long bridge. See this long bridge at 98% capacity during peak hours. There's only 2 tracks that carries both the Manassas line trains and the Fredericksburg line trains. So 5 tracks come into 3.
And then they go down to 2 over the current Long Bridge, which, as you can see on the far right, this is a rendering what's gonna be happening in the future. So we want to alleviate this bottleneck. Actually, but the bottleneck is, let me show you pictures in a few minutes. In case you don't know what VPRA is, it's General Assembly created us in 2020 on the heels of our initial CSX deal that was announced in 2019. We mostly here to build and maintain various rail facilities. We do that with, we do not operate service. VRE does that, and Amtrak does that, but we do fund all the Amtrak state supported trains in Virginia, which is 8 of them now. And we fund a good portion of capital and operating for VRE. We do have a 15-member board. There are a few board members from Fredericksburg City, in fact. There are 2 board members, Charlie Payne and oh my gosh, Chamber of Commerce. I'm blanking on her name right now. She's gonna kill me. Susan Spears. Susan Spears is.
Kill you.
Right.
Yeah, and I see her. Oh, I see her downtown too. I am a Fredericksburg resident. I should have mentioned that. I live about 8 blocks away, so I'm very familiar with the area. I see Susan all throughout town, so she is going to kill me. Please don't tell her that. I'll admit it myself next time.
Okay, fair.
You might be fine.
Sorry, Susan. I'm gonna keep moving forward. In case I've talked about where we own. We also own some other tracks throughout Virginia. But for the most part, again, we don't operate. When we own tracks, we still have entities like CSX or Norfolk Southern operate them. We do own, VRE has some ownership too of the Manassas line, as some board members know. But again, Norfolk Southern and CSX still operate them. It's called State of Maine transaction with the Service Train Station Board. So we own it, but they operate. Okay, so what I'm here to talk about is mostly Long Bridge. I'm talking about some other projects in the area. They're also going to need basically some work windows. You're going to hear me mention that a few times today. We need some work windows to construct. Because if you're constructing, well, I'll get up, then I'll get ahead of myself. I'm going to go over some quick updates. Long Bridge, there's a lot of activity. If anyone's been up in DC, you can actually see by Main Avenue, a lot of activity happening. So construction has begun. What we're going to talk about is coming in January, major Long Bridge construction happens. And also some other projects up in that same area. L'Enfant, this is a project just next to it on the north. That's also going to be going to construction in a couple of years. And just south of it, Alexandria 4-track that also ties in at Long Bridge Park in Arlington is starting construction actually in a few months as well. These are various construction activities in DC right now. That's happening, that's ongoing right now. This is underneath Maryland Avenue, very busy area. Some trees have come down. A lot of utility relocations are happening right now for anyone who's been involved, but it doesn't matter if it's road or rail. But there's especially a lot of utilities along the rail line, because if you think about it, the straightest shot is often along the rail line. If you see a lot of the utility poles with the orange tops, that's utilities. That's often gas pipelines. Gas pipelines such as one that runs the National Airport that carries so we got to be careful with these things. Also a lot of fiber optics. So we have a lot of early works projects that'll move utilities out of the way so that we can construct rail track. So Long Bridge South is the 2 packages for Long Bridge. Long Bridge South is the package over the Potomac River. And if you've been over the Potomac, whether it be on a train or whether it be on a metro train or whether it be on 395, you'll see barges in the river. Those are ours. A lot of geotechnical investigations going on now. Moving further south, we're going to Springfield bypass. You'll see work going on up there. If you really got to take the train to see that. I'm going to again keep moving here. Again, a lot of utility relocations, a lot of tree clearing going on now. There are 3 projects that are starting to happen or will soon be moving further in design in your area. This isn't the greatest graphic as I'm standing up here. It looks like it's been degraded a little bit, but easy to remember, just north of Brook, there's a siding E, which is going to be, we're starting design now with CSX. That's not coming online for a couple of years. The more immediate one is what we call Potomac Creek 3rd-track south siding here near Leland Station. It's easy to remember. There's actually a few projects here. There's one at Leland Road that is being done. We already selected a contractor for that. There's utility projects. We're working with Stafford County. We're constructing utilities. They're paying us back over, moving the utilities. They're paying us back over time. And then there's the Leland 3rd-track. So in your area, we want to build a 3rd track. So for the most part, there's 2 tracks. When you get down to Fredericksburg, there's some more. but there's 2 tracks. We want to build a 3rd track. When you have 3 tracks, you can move a lot of trains. And the end goal of this is for the VVRE especially, be able to have weekend service, be able to have off-peak service. We're getting to that VRE 2050 plan that allows a lot more service to be had. And I should also mention, just near the VRE Lou facility, the facility down there, the Crossroads 3rd track, we're adding a 3rd track there. These are 3 to 4 miles for the most part, sidings projects are. The end goal is going to be to tie all these in and have a dedicated 3rd track all the way to Spotsylvania. So that'll allow Virginia, both our state-supported trains and their VRE trains, to control their own destiny. When you have 3 tracks, you don't have to say Mother May I as much as the CSX. Because we have a lot of trains. Keep in mind, there are 8 VRE round trips on this line. There's a little more than that for Amtrak trains, actually a decent amount more than that for Amtrak trains when you include long distance trains. And then there's also a good number of CSX freight trains, as anyone who can hear trains going by as we speak. So Long Bridge is broken up to 2 packages. There's a south package over at Potomac. There's a north package in DC. Guess which one's more difficult to construct? The DC one, because the DC one, this is a good overview here. Get my bearings here. You see the CSX bridge right there. We're going to construct a new bridge next to it, which means you can keep traffic running on the bridge. Even though it'll be tight because we'll be adding a bike pedestrian bridge, and there's the next Momata bridge as well. So you get another picture here. Then it comes together, and right now there's 2 tracks here. We're constructing a 4-track, 1 bridge structure where there's currently 2 tracks running. And when that happens, you have FRA safety rules that if you have vehicles, construction vehicles, things of that nature, they have to stop work as a train goes by. And when trains go by often, because remember, this is the area where you have the Manassas Lines trains come in, the VRE trains come in, and the Amtrak trains from New Orleans and Florida and Chicago, all throughout the East Coast come in. So they all come in. This is about a mile or so south of Union Station. So this is a very busy area. Again, very tight area. This is Salamander Hotel, formerly Mandarin Oriental Hotel, very expensive. I cannot afford it. Condos I cannot afford to live in. When I do some site visits recently, there are $100,000+ cars outside that condo. That is not a cheap place to live. It looks very nice. And you also have the wharf here. We do not believe any senators have boats there. There used to be one. That's a worry to us. And we're going to be impacting some parking there as well. This is how it will look when it's complete, to be clear. That's not how it is now. Right now, there's only 2 tracks. So you can see the new Long Bridge coming in. This is you can see barely see the water. Coming over Potomac's a lot easier to construct than it is when you get up here. So when we get up here, because we have all these buildings up here, there's sensitive noise receptors, which means in DC, you cannot be working after 7 p.m. We have a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Work window, but we have trains going all day long. So let me get to what does this mean? So we have to develop a service plan where we can construct Long Bridge, a $2.7 billion project that is the key to our rail future, for VRE's rail future especially. And we have to figure out how to do that so we can build this by 2030 and build it within the $2.7 billion budget we have. We want to maintain as much service as we can. However, we do realize we're going to need to curtail some service. We do need to maximize the work windows. We're looking to try to get 5 hours. As each week goes on, it seems to be a few minutes less than that. Again, I mentioned the DC noise and vibration laws. We can't work on Sundays either. So peaks in the morning and the evening are the highest ridership times. There's also keep in mind when we're trying to figure out the best work windows, the Amtrak trains go from Boston or New York all the way down to Florida. And then again, some of them even go, the Cardinal goes to Chicago, the Crescent goes to New Orleans, and the CSX trains go up and down the corridor. There's no reliever around DC for CSX. This is their main north-south route. There's no other way to get around the area. Baltimore, there's ways to get around. DC, when you're constructing for them, the only way to get through DC is on the Long Bridge. So what we're looking at, so right now, this is the current, let me slide back so people can see it. This is the current trains, and this takes a few minutes to get oriented to. So if anyone has questions after that, feel free to, Ian, have them reach out to me, because this takes a few minutes to get used to. You can see the color coding, the Amtrak long distance, the Amtrak Northeast Regional. That means our 8 state supported trains. They say R, that's what Virginia funds. You have the VRE trains from the Fredericksburg line, the Manassas line, and CSX freight trains. You can see in the morning how congested it is. And again, this is also one of these trains gets out of slot because we have so little capacity over the Potomac that it can really delay it. Not the next train, but even the train an hour later, especially coming back in the evening too. These trains, because some of these trains on Amtrak are coming all the way from New York or Boston. The trains that go north in the morning are generally on time because they for the most part start in Virginia. So it's difficult to try to find a work window that'll work for. We're looking at 8:15 to 1 p.m. Now, this is when the trains get up to L'Enfant. So L'Enfant just south of the station. So we're looking at that work window. So what do we do with all these trains? We move them. Gets even more congested here. And then congested coming southbound in the afternoon. So what does that mean? That means for VRE, we're going to short turn some trains. The last 2 trains in the morning in the Fredericksburg line are gonna stop at Alexandria. Alexandria, for those who aren't aware, has a robust metro system. There's also buses there too. Right next to the Alexandria train station is the Alexandria Metro station. You can walk over, and you can have a couple different options: the yellow line or the blue line to get into DC. We're also going to have some Amtrak trains. There's going to be 2 less Amtrak round trips coming through because, and I was just at Hampton Roads last week. The Amtrak trains in the regional trains that we sponsor go all the way to at least New York or Boston. They still need to do that. There's actually heavier Amtrak ridership in the Northeast Corridor than there is in Virginia. And they do not have enough train sets and engines to be able to keep a train captive. Captive might not be the right word, to keep a train in Virginia and yet still run service Northeast Corridor. They are near the end of their useful life on their current trains. There are new trains coming in a couple of years, and we have already asked Amtrak that when those trains come, is there still serviceable equipment on the current trains to consider allowing those to be held in Virginia to serve from Norfolk and Newport News all the way up to Alexandria, and then keep them in Virginia and then turn them back. We still need servicing though. We still need to service them in Virginia. Right now, they're not generally serviced in Virginia. Their facilities are up near Washington, D.C. So what does this mean for this area, especially Fredericksburg? That means some of the trains I take, if I have a doctor's appointment in the morning and I can't hop on a VRE train, I'll take an Amtrak train. That means one of the Amtrak trains I take won't be running. The first train will. There'll still be an Amtrak train. One Amtrak train in the morning is going to get people to New York. It's a 1-seat ride. You don't need to get off the train. At least, yeah, they're going to get people to Philadelphia, New York, so on and so forth. The last 2 morning trains are going to be, again, short turning at Alexandria. In the evening, they'll be coming back and doing some things at Alexandria as well. We purchased something called the Seminary Yard. Actually, VRE is purchasing it from Virginia, so we can short turn those trains because you need a place to turn them around, service them, and hold them. But you can't hold them on the lines; it'll congest the line. So that's a really key thing that when I say we collectively, BPRA and the VRE board did in purchasing that last year. So that's pretty much the end of it. The weekend service is going to be similar because you want to keep the Amtrak trains on a similar schedule. So again, this is how it looks in the beginning. Currently now, we are replacing, we're adding some buses from Newport News and Norfolk. However, because you have VRE service here to pick up some of the slack, those are going to be express buses. And when Long Bridge is completed, we'll be adding trains back. And then the real benefit for this area, when related projects, Long Bridge is pretty much the long pole in the tent, are complete. We'll have all these more trains coming from the Fredericksburg area. And I noticed as a daily rider, a lot of people get on and off of Quantico. You have a lot of people at Quantico who live in this area. They get off. And there is also some people I've noticed, also reverse commuting, that want to reverse commute. We've heard that, they use the Amtrak train sometimes to reverse commute. And Ian, he might have stepped out, but we know there's a request to have reverse commute from FAMPO, in the morning especially. So this is the benefit. Another benefit is we're gonna be getting all these more VRE trains, including weekend trains. I should note that I believe on November 3rd is the date, as a step toward weekend trains. The Amtrak Step Up program is not only coming back, but you can use it on the weekends. So again, before, if you remember pre-COVID, you could use the Amtrak Step Up program if you have a VRE 10 ride or monthly pass and pay a small dollar amount. This time would be $4 and get on an Amtrak train. So, but now it'd be 30 seats per train. If you're one of those people that hold a 10 ride or a monthly pass, you'll be able to use the Step Up program to take Amtrak on the weekends too. So it's kind of VRE dipping their toe in the water on weekend service. And then when we're done with long other projects, we'll bring weekends in with the schedule. We still need to determine with CSX, but it'll be a pretty friendly schedule. And we're going to be interspersing it with all the Amtrak trains coming through, because you don't want them on top of each other. You want to space them out. Now, there's places like, Leland and Brook, just north of here, that don't have the benefit of the Amtrak service. They want that local service, but we know that a lot of people, I saw someone over the weekend that has a place near Leland Station, and they're looking forward to that weekend service. Leland Station be that neighborhood right next to Leland Station. So that's pretty much the gist of it. We are doing a lot of communications and outreach. VRE already has on their app that coming January, we believe the date now is January 12th. There'll be service changes. But we wanted to reach out to this group and to let people know, and feel free to spread the word. We're going to continue talking to various groups up through now and January. And also, if there's tweaks that need to be made, if we realize the train, especially these trains in the morning, we're really worried about these and then coming back in the afternoon. If one is knocking another one very late, we'll work with Amtrak and CSX and VRE and others to try to maybe, if we need to rejigger the train schedule, we'll do so. Because trains are just like you're driving in a car. If you have a few minute delay, it might just not be a couple of minutes delay, it could be a 20-30 minute delay. And that cascading a domino effect happens a lot on VRE and Amtrak. But again, the end goal is as we add more capacity, we're not just being able to add these trains just because CSX likes us, because they still generally control the corridor. Because we're adding these 3rd track projects and up in Northern Virginia 4-track projects, they're allowing us more capacity so that they'll help on-time performance as well. Any questions? Either I did a really good job. It's after dinner and people.
We've talked about this, sure. We've talked about this at VRE, but how many years are we talking about these 5 years?
5 years.
5 years.
So through the end of 2030. So we're beginning in early 2026 and 2020 and end of 2030. We are looking at the possibility. I know there's Virginia 250s coming up, World Cup, other things coming up. We are looking at if the possibility of maybe adding some train times or something of that nature, but I can't promise anything. Yeah, 5 years.
So is that early 2030 date then is when you anticipate?
Late 2030, just want to be
Late
clear.
2030, sorry, is when you anticipate the Long Bridge will be complete?
Yes.
Okay, so we can tell folks in this area that they can begin to expect better service.
That's when Long Bridge is expected to be complete.
Right.
We have already bid that. There are already contractors both the north and south, which is great. And once you get that started and they have certain goals they need to meet, I feel a lot more comfortable. Now, it could slip a couple months yet.
Okay.
But we hope it doesn't. My executive director listening right now would be very mad that I even said it. But sometimes things happen that might be outside of our control. Right now, frankly, the federal government shutdown, we have some permits that are in the queue. It's not helping.
Mhm.
It's slowing things up a little bit. So hopefully that'll get that opened up so we can get some of those permits approved, especially for if you think about in the Potomac, you have Coast Guard, you have National Park Service, you have many others.
Another question, you mentioned that the goal ultimately is to connect all these third track sidings into a
Yes.
continuous third track. I know something folks ask us a lot, what does that look like in the city where you're coming through a kind of constrained area and the train station? What is that gonna look?
So that is phase 4. That is toward the end. Right now, what I mentioned is through phase 1 and 2.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'll mean a new bridge over the Rappahannock. And I love that bridge. I have a picture of it in my office, but it's a historic bridge. And we have not yet begun design on it. So trying to determine if you're building a new one next to it and then tying it in or improving it is something we'll have to look at. And I know there's also a curve as you come from the south into Fredericksburg. Curves are never great for rail because obviously they're big machines. So not sure of what we'll be doing with that. And also the platform was elongated, which Viri did a great job of. I think you can fit 7 of the 8 cars on the platform now. That helps a lot, but to be determined. It's a great question. We get a lot too.
We'll have to tear down our train station and build a wider one, or can you fit the 3 tracks through the train station as it is?
We'll have to determine that.
It will come down.
Well, you say it'll come down, but sometimes you can do things in pieces and you want to maintain service and we'll have to maintain service. You could do some things with some platforms and there might be a little bit of room to bump out too. You say come down, obviously right now the station, there's not a station house.
Yeah,
There's the
what I'm
restaurant.
saying is that the width between the 2 platforms isn't wide enough to put another track in, so you'll have to do something creative.
What's the time frame for that? Is this come after the long bridge?
That is unfunded. If anyone has a few $1 billion, they.
Okay. Yeah. The same in our pockets inside out.
Phases 3 and 4 are
Okay.
so remains to be determined. Design hasn't even begun. We're just beginning design on Spotsylvania, the crossroads one I mentioned now. So.
Okay.
So the Spotsylvania.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. McLaughlin? No. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
That's very informative. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great job.
All right, item 8B, resolution directing a public comment period for the draft Rappahannock Crossing Parkway Alternatives Study. For Dr. Rideout and Mr. Olive.
Good evening. As Ian has already mentioned, we are going forward asking for the policy committee to open public comment. So we can receive feedback based on the final draft as submitted by Microfigure International. Just a reminder, stakeholder agency and public input throughout the process, but we are at our last step. So this will be one of the last times that we're going to have to open public comment for this particular project. So Michael Baser has been first final document. It's within the agenda pack. It's a large one. It's 747 pages. Within this document, there is no new information. So it is pretty much exactly what you've been presented thus far in the various meetings over the maybe a little bit longer now. It has the core study analysis, the findings and recommendations that are coming out of the report. It's including the PEL or the PEL-like study recommendations, the documentation, traffic analysis, table and maps, a lot of the stuff and materials that you've seen presented in the slideshow, but some of the more information that was kind of behind the scenes with it. The agency coordination document, the meeting materials, and as well as a public engagement. Actually, the public engagement materials with the surveys, the emails, every single comment that we have is in there. It's probably the largest chunk of information there, and when we have that, then hopefully the public comment that we'll get in the upcoming month will be inserted into this document. So it's going to grow larger in that. We've also included the press coverage because we can say at least look at the reach that our ability has. So again, there's no new information that is coming out of this particular document with this final draft report. So and just a reminder what the core document is saying. Basically, what this report has is screened out option D. So that one will be no longer hopefully advancing past this option. Options A, B1, B2, C as the locally preferred reduction, option, as well as the no build alternative, or advancing or potentially advancing the next one, as well as any other ones. And we're memorializing that we do have a locally preferred option, and that including items like the C type has endorsed a slightly modified version of option C. Those are the items within the document. We do have, as part of the deliverables from the consultants that are considered to be an accessory to this, is updated cost estimates. So we have three main deliverables from our consultants.
John, I've just, in view of the fact that clearly appear to be some questions, I've printed out the full cost estimate here. It's
Awesome.
18 pages. We're quite happy to give it to the public or anybody else that wants it. But I don't think it's going to be much use to anybody. What you really want to know is those numbers John's got on the screen.
The other thing is, as
Okay,
kind of mentioned, both say the initial kind of design elements and then also the still in review with jurisdiction staff and VDOT. VDOT still providing the partial, but not all. Like they were commenting on, say, the cost per square footage for some items. That's changed depending on what the current time is. I think they have better items. So we're still receiving feedback on that. But per federal guidance, that's not included in this report, or at least in the final report document, because FHWA says that's not a screening criteria. That's the question of why is the not included here. It includes the presentations where we have our planning level estimates. This is part of the three core things item of the deliverable district consultant. The final draft document is a standalone deliverable, as well as a cost estimate and initial designs that allow FAMPO or whatever to go after additional funding options that get a much higher option that can be basically fit for various requirements.
For Supervisor Bond, then
Supervisor thank you, Chair. So Dr. Rideout, you just said something very important, and I would like to go back and tell us again what you just said and why that's important in this report.
Which part?
The part about the FTA and what they require and what they
yes.
don't, because I think that holds in with.
Mr. Watkins' public comment, and we all sitting around this table would like to understand.
So yes, so a cost estimate for federal guidance is not a part of the selection criteria for a PEL or PEL like scenario. So
can you say what PEL stands for, please?
Planning environmental linkages. I know that VDOT's provided comments. They want us to use PEL like because we are incorporating some elements into the study. So, but basically that's saying that at this stage of what you're determining what is going to be a preferred alternative, looking at the impacts, that traditionally cost estimates are not included at this stage. So it's you determine that. The other item is that cost estimates can change very much. We're still receiving feedback. And so as those are being updated, we can kind of progress.
So John's saying two important things. The first thing is in a PEL study, you are not allowed to use the cost as the reason to choose a particular option, right? That's against the law. The second thing he's saying is the only thing you can be certain about is that it's not going to cost that amount.
Okay.
Because it's a joke, but it's also serious. The reason for that is that the NEPA study is going to change elements of this. They're going to move the bridge to the left, or they're going to make it higher or lower, or you're going to have to avoid the mussels on the rocks. So it's got to be. So this is a cost estimate based on what we know now, right? The commitment of the consultant was to use a planning level cost estimate to compare the options. But once we picked a preferred option, they were required to do this detailed cost estimate to allow us to apply for funding and to take it to the NEPA stage. But the only thing you can be certain about is it won't cost that number, because the NEPA study will change it. And then when VDOT decides to build the bridge and they go out to contractors to get a quote to build the bridge, it's going to change again. So the only thing we can tell you for certain is that that won't be the exact number.
Yeah.
It's really an order of magnitude number. But I printed for you literally all 18 pages of the detailed cost estimate. And frankly, you can publish it in the newspaper if you want. It's real boring stuff. And we know that it's not, yes, extra copies if anybody wants. There is no reason we shouldn't give this to anybody. It's just that it's lots of complicated engineering detail. And
I am not
this
qualified to
this will change. So feel free to, we're happy to include this in the public comment period if you wish. It's just, if we have to explain to all the members of the public what each of these line items is, it could be a long explanation, but we're happy to give it there. Nothing we do is not public knowledge, and you can have it all.
Supervisor Mullins.
So, Dr. Retta, is this a schedule, kind of a general 2 lanes, X height, a boilerplate kind of schedule used starting point for bridge construction, or is it unique to this particular area? Because I'm a little confused since we haven't heard from the consultant yet on that type of thing. So how do you get?
That's
Stop there.
professional.
Okay.
You've actually got VDOT sitting in the room.
So VDOT
We could-
generated just a general,
Ask VDOT their comment on the tool. It's a VDOT tool,
it's a tool then.
Yeah,
tool.
Okay,
so a consultant. And they prepared estimates, we did not generate that estimate, or, and then if it's to. Share with some of the other office. With the application.
The VDOT prescribed tool, that's what that is.
so is that just based on one chosen corridor or just?
That would have been the estimate that.
So this would be the endorsement for option C. So the consultants are not tasked with all the options. For engineering drawings for all of them, which is for all of them.
Okay.
That's the option C, cost estimate using VDOT tool.
Any other questions while we're paused? All right. No, I think we're still moving, right? Or are we done? Presentation?
Again, we're requesting action, 30-day public comment, the documents are any jurisdictions have been, sent out, so we're still receiving their comments. Jurisdiction, not gonna go like have y'all open it.
One follow-up.
Sure thing.
So generally, is it your experience or VDOT's experience that when you use a tool, that's kind of in isolation, just construction? And then is there kind of a historical effect of the other studies that, like if it starts out for construction, it's this number here, but after NEPA and some other things, it goes up 25% or 100%, whatever. Is there any historical data?
That type of data. By what those cheap were, so there were assumptions made as to everything from, the bridge section, some of it after this were geology or. For, earthwork associated project, they would have some pitch as some type of a service so that they can assume and, some volume of dirt, things like that, they would have to find assumptions. And, so it's a combination of things that your estimate, so that's another thing, that the estimate is today's dollars, that would be inflated to whenever we expect it to be construction. Looking at a lot of the right of way, that's where right of way estimates also to have them. I gauge what the value of the land and damages expected. So it's a lot of different things, so that the study would influence a lot of different but it's really difficult to say that that is going to translate to a certain dollar value or percentage.
But your tool takes into account some of those factors.
So the tool
can
manages,
answer that.
risk. The tool tries to help to manage risk. On this page, sheet 2, there's items that list risk contingency. So, you know, the answer to your question is really, you know, there's a chance that there's a significant geotechnical issue that nobody's aware of. Is it likely? At this stage, we don't know. Is it possible? It is. So it's almost like if you get lucky, a lot of these risk items and contingency costs don't ever materialize. And now you're looking at a scenario where potentially your costs may actually be sitting a little more favorable as you go. Unlucky, the opposite happens. And, you know, you start walking into a project that starts turning into you know, maybe not the worst case scenario, but, you know, a lot of things that you know, concerned about end up being real concerns. And there's no real way of knowing at the beginning of the project. And then the engineer preparing this has to use some judgment as far as some of the assumptions that she's making, to figure out whether, you know, what that baseline number is.
Projects typically, whether it's inflation, the cost of materials over time. Like Ian said, it won't be this number, but that's what the tool generates at this point in time.
This is the best guess that this person who prepared this report
Sure.
has today.
Yeah, as today. Okay, that's all I was looking for, but things will change over time based on when it happens. You know,
And the NEPA study has to look at the physical environment on site, right? The planning level study, we don't go drill holes to check what the rock is and all that kind of thing. But as the NEPA study and the engineering study proceeds, they become aware of, oh, it's not as bad as we thought, or we have to move more earth, or whatever the case is that they find. So we can't know that until the next phase, which is NEPA and engineering, to find out what's there.
yeah, I asked the question not to pick, but more like to, once the number gets out in the wild, out in public, they're gonna latch on to 300 billion. And we need to be able to educate the public on what that means right now. That's all. That's all. Yeah.
I move to approve resolution 26.7. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
We
you.
will bring the consultant to answer any further questions you have at the next meeting. So please do come with any questions you have. And we've asked your jurisdictions to send us written comments so that we can make edits if there are any shortcomings.
Okay, let's move on to item 8E, the grant applications.
Take it away, Becky.
The Bill grant, the acronym is up there. It used to be called the RAISE grant, the new administration. The notice of funding opportunity is expected, early November was. Notice of funding opportunity was received last year. With a late January, actually it was the last day of January last year, January 30. We're hoping it's the same thing. The $25 million maximum annual award. Each applicant may apply for 3 grant applications per year. It's okay to and encouraged to apply for subsequent phases through project completion. And this is the important part: 100% grant funding with no local match required, except projects in the Stafford Transportation Management area. Next slide.
Just go back.
Okay.
Again.
Okay.
Those last four sentences really are super important. This is a grant where no local match is required, where you can get up to 25 million per year, and where you can apply for multiple 25 millions on the same project, because each year you can submit a new application and it's federal dollars. That's really important to know that.
The delivery model that will be successful for us with our current staffing and experience is that GWRC, FAMPO, would be the grant applicant and the grant recipient. We've been meeting with the locality staff, which will get to the recommendations of this project and this grant cycle in a moment. And then the only way this could really work is that if VDOT implements the design process through their consultant and their staff. We will basically be a bookkeeper, funneling the grant funds through us to VDOT. Next slide. We started out recommending 3 projects. We boiled it down to these 2. We had 3 projects. The first was the NEPA and preliminary engineering for the river crossing project. The second was a project proposal in Caroline County. There is a portion of US 17 that's in the FEMA theoretical floodplain, but that is not the location of a frequent flooding problem. So Caroline County is going to deal with that frequent flooding problem, working with VDOT, where an old outfall ditch going through a farm field has been filled in and does cause some drainage problems on US 17, not in the FEMA floodplain. So the Caroline County Transportation Committee has decided not to move ahead with that initial staff recommendation to study options to get that area of US 17 out of the FEMA floodplain. We met with Spotsylvania County. Our initial recommendation was to look at the Harrison Road I-95 interchange that is in our constrained long-range plan for perhaps an interchange justification report and analysis of that project. Staff initially came up with a bundle of 3 projects, the interchange, the widening of Harrison Road, and this 8-laning of I-95. There was actually a pre-application in round 6 for smart scale funding. The staff met with their decision makers and want to focus on the NEPA and preliminary engineering for the 8-laning of I-95. That would be to widen the current 3 lanes, both northbound and southbound, between Pike Road and exit 126, to make it 4 lanes in each northbound and southbound approach. So this is input from staff. This is our recommendation here for you tonight. And I think that's the last slide. That concludes my presentation.
Ms. Golden, and so can you talk to me about how the staff is going to get these applications submitted to something that FAMPO staff has the bandwidth for? Or I understand you're not going to we're going to leave the execution should we get the grant to VDOT, but in terms of actually getting the grant, it's something that you guys are able to tap into.
Yeah, so we could submit the grant on behalf of GWRC FAMPO, and we would manage the financial accounting. We would help with hosting public hearings or committee meetings with VDOT. Essentially, we would hand the execution to VDOT. As you know, builds highways, very good at building highways. We're not in the construction business, and so VDOT would conduct the NEPA study, which they require now. VDOT requires that they do the NEPA study in-house. The FAMPO wouldn't do the NEPA study, VDOT would. And the preliminary engineering design of the elements of these projects. So we would really be doing the bookkeeping and facilitating meetings, facilitating public input. I think VDOT would be in charge of the bulk of that work.
And the effort through the grant application forms and narrative, Spotsylvania County has reached out to me today to offer up the A-team of their staff to work on, and they've done so much work on this already. As I said, this was an application, a pre-application for smart scale. So they have all the congestion relief, all the important aspects of the grant narrative, the sell, if you will, to federal highways. As well as what we would do in the grant application is have chunks that would need to be done chronologically. So it would invite a partial award perhaps to get those discrete chunks that get you through in case they don't want to do the whole. We would ideally, particularly with projects of this magnitude, work with, again, VDOT to come up with 24 million or, a $25 million package that would have options for the grant award individuals to make parcel awards.
So it takes years, right? This is not something that's gonna happen like tomorrow. The award with the application would only go in at the end of January. Then there's a whole long process for them to review the applications until they finally award it. And then how long does a NEPA study take with all the pre-engineering? Yeah, so that could be 2 years worth of work, right? So this is it's setting up a process which takes quite a long time. Ultimately, the policy committee will also need to decide whether or not to submit river crossing bridge as a smart scale application, which is another question. This is not a smart scale application, doesn't require match, and it's a very specific amount of money you can apply for. You may not exceed 25 million. But the beauty of this grant is you can apply after you've finished engineering and NEPA, you can apply for another 25 million to buy the land. Then you can apply for another 25 million to start construction. So it has the ability to grow, which other grants don't allow you to. You get one shot and then it's done. If we applied to either of these projects for smart scale and the one in Spotsylvania on I-95, we have applied for in smart scale. I think it's 3 cycles in a row, something like 3, and it doesn't get funded. It doesn't score well because the cost is so high, right? Talking, I don't know, 50 million or something now. Because the cost is so high, it doesn't score very well in smart scale. So we've been unable to get it funded through smart scale. And this is an attempt to try a different way of getting the 2 lanes on I-95 funded by going to a federal grant.
Paul describes this as smart scale for the nation,
Yeah,
For the what?
for the nation.
Oh.
Kind of like, now, that's how.
Mr. Hollis, do you get a sense of how, do you have any information about how many applications versus how many awards have gotten made in recent cycles of this grant? Just gauging some expectation management here.
I don't know if Becky knows, but you know, I don't know how many applications they get, but there's a list of awards every year that get published. And it's not like 2, there's quite a lot of awards that get published all over the country. But you know, the one thing we can say about these type of grants is it's like a lottery ticket. The only thing you can be sure of is that if you don't have a ticket, you're never going to win. Right. And it's the same story here. If you never put in an application, you know you'll get nothing. If you put in the application, there's a chance you'll get a full award or a partial award, and you can start on your next project, like the 2 lanes on I-95. We tried for a Caroline project too, but the project isn't quite as big as we thought, and they have a different way of dealing with it, which is fine.
Now, this also raises the question we were discussing a moment ago that we don't know the due date is sometime in late January. We don't know, but in order for the second of these applications to go in, we have to have adopted the river crossing study as an official document to be attached.
Correct. So we think it's going to be the 30th of January, but it's a new administration. We don't, they may pick February, they may pick the middle of January. We don't know for certain. And we need to adopt the study, which enables us to apply for the funding, because now a study recommends this bridge. So that's the timeline. And look, we're just honest. I mean, you know, we can only do what we can do, and this is where we are in the process. And this is what actually Becky did most of the work on this, research the grant, and we had a bit of a excited party at the office when we realized we don't have to have local match, because we thought, how the heck are any of our larger projects going to get funded, because they all need match. And if you apply in smart scale, because the price is so high, they score low, and then you don't get out of the start. So this is one way of getting larger projects funded, and you won't win every grant, right? We might put in 2 or 3, and lucky us might get 1 or none. We don't know, but if we don't try, we definitely will. Do we need a motion? We would like your support for us to go ahead and prepare the application. Would you like to have a form of a motion? Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the quickest way of doing it. That's what that was.
Second.
This is a motion
To instruct staff to proceed with constructing an application and work with VDOT on ironing out the details, of which there will be quite a few.
motion a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I guess stay tuned for November. Hopefully we will have more information about due dates and then we can discuss adopting the study.
Again, yes, we'll let you know the facts and you can decide how to proceed with the timeline.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's very exciting. It's got item D, the bicycle pedestrian counter follow-up.
So I presented to our Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee, just to let them know that you started the discussion about possibly funding, a new counter, maybe more counters. So we have a letter attached to this tonight from Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee. I'm also here to answer any questions about the program as it is, what it could be like. But this is just for you all to continue. They've been Billy, and I know you all had said you wanted to go back and talk in your own jurisdictions about it, so I get an opportunity to discuss that.
And the chair of CTAC is present if you
Yes.
wish to ask any questions.
Do we have any questions?
Mr. Chair, how much did we decide the counters were?
Four
4,000.
counters with the electronic facility is about 19,000-ish. It was on your agenda last month. I think
Right.
it's 19,000, so divide by 4 will give you the unit cost.
Yeah.
So just so we talked about it, right? But I don't know if have a consensus. I can't recall.
Just trying to phone people about
And we're talking about doing this in the next budget, right?
it. I believe so, wasn't it?
So the only funding that we have currently available would be CMAC and STGB funding, right? So we would have to take off the top that 19,000, or if you only want to fund 2, you remember I never came here asking for this. I'm being dragged into this, and I keep trying to tell my staff, hey, 2 is fine. We don't need 4 because I've got to get someone to drive out to each of the locations and move the thing. We can handle 4, but we could be okay with 2. Doesn't have to be 4.
Mr. Chair, but didn't we say that these two were ending their?
We only have 1, and it's ending its useful life pretty soon. In fact, Lita thought it broke again last week, but it didn't. It was something else.
So it's basically replacing what we have or what we had until the first one.
We had 2.
Why don't we authorize you to send CMAC for 1, and then we need to, because I know we haven't brought this because it just got up and we've been dealing with things. So we haven't brought this to our board yet, and then we can maybe split another 1 or 2 between the 3 jurisdictions.
You can decide at next month's meeting. The
Well, we
STB.
may need more time to talk to our respective boards.
Oh, sure.
We've got, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, if we could just together tonight, get her another one so that she's got that one to hold her over in case the other one breaks, and she's technically got 2, then we take it to our boards, because we're gonna wanna build it into next year's budget. This is not something we're just gonna decide, hey, let's spend, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's too hard to make those decisions. And then I feel like that's the fastest way to get you what you need, and then build this into our budgets for next year. And we can all ask for 1, and then if we end up splitting, you know what I mean, like cut it in half, then we'll buy. Does anybody?
So I talked with our staff and they shared your concern, which is don't buy extras on our behalf. We don't have the people. So that's what
Yeah, we can handle
Right.
2 more, but no,
So-
I wouldn't want 4, frankly.
I think I might, if I can amend here, suggest maybe we just buy 2, because it sounds like the other one is really, really on its way out. Maybe,
And we're
right?
not going to buy them now. If you tonight authorize this, what you're doing is you're giving an instruction to the TAC to allocate money to buy 2 in March when we allocate the CMAC STGB. So
We
it
have
will,
money, that like, what project is
no project. We're going to get allocated new money in March. And we would take the however many thousand, or 1 or 2 or whatever, the top 5, and the rest of the money will be allocated as per the methodology.
Why don't we just do one now? Another one after that break. That way they've got two. Had one for how long, like, long time. Two.
So, I hate to spend CMAC and STBG money on this, but we have to, right? Kind of like Crystal's idea of just doing one right now, because that STBG money is like liquid gold. You can spend it on anything. So, I just hate to take money out of that pot because those dollars are so valuable.
Well, it's
a
up
very
to,
small amount.
I know, Ian, your concern is not having enough people to run, but you can employ them differently.
We can handle
You
2,
could take 2 or 3 of them, and put
Yes.
them on both, all throughout one route, and you could map out when people come in and leave. It's predominant,
Volunteer to buy.
yeah, I mean, it was me who said buy 4 of them.
Leader did work up a plan of how we could use them. And so if we have, say, 3, we can put 1 in each jurisdiction and then don't move it every 2 weeks. We could leave it there for a month, right?
You
And
can
then
do
move
that,
it
or,
once a
like I
month.
said,
So there are
you could
different
also-
ways.
You could also put it on one long trail if you wanted to really understand all about that trail.
Yeah.
Like if it's most of the traffic originating in the city and going to the county, vice versa. If you're getting off in a certain area, then you move, and you can do projects like that instead of just. And then you're only getting that route one time. You don't need to have extra people.
Well, just trying to get to a decision so we can move on.
Yeah.
I think we're doing more than one. We've got to bring back to our respective boards 3 more times.
I
So,
agree with you though.
yeah, so maybe we just do the one now, and then if the 3 jurisdictions want to ask their budget process for $4,000 to allocate to this, then whichever jurisdictions do it, then they're the ones that can use it more next year. You know what I mean? They can,
There,
Fair enough.
and then if not,
is that a motion?
yeah, that's something.
And how much is it for one?
$4,700.
Okay, $4,700, okay. All right.
I think it's important that we get FAMPO back to its complement of 2. And I know there's one that's operating now, but I'm worried that we're gonna. So I would like to support, give Mr. So I think, and then it's out of the hands of, right? Because this is something that FAMPO has done for the jurisdictions up to this point, has collected this data, shared it with the jurisdiction staff as requested, right? So I prefer.
Sure, so if we did 2, it's what, $11,000?
Something,
Okay.
9.5.
Plus tax, whatever. How much money do we have in the CMAC?
It's the 7 million that John was just showing on.
7.8 million.
Oh,
7.8 million.
About 9,000. Okay,
Yeah, but we're
Yeah.
all gonna fight over all that money.
Yeah.
Just
And
trust
fight
me.
over it.
It might sound like a lot of money, but when
Except-
it's all divvied
Well, we're
up.
not fighting about it now,
Except,
right?
Well,
except,
not yet.
except because of the new system, which I've been blamed for. You're not gonna fight as much this year because
Because it's
you
all
know the
percentages.
calculation before we start. There's a formula now. So you're not gonna fight, I hope.
I mean, I just think, I would be in favor of doing, okay, only because.
Okay, is that a substitute?
Yes.
Okay, all right, second.
Okay.
Yes. All
So
right, so go ahead.
now we have a vote on the substitute.
Yes.
motion. Yes.
Yes,
All right, all in favor of the substitute motion for, yeah,
Aye.
2.
Aye.
Aye. Wait, hold on.
Just ask
Okay.
if there's any against.
All right. Opposed, yes. Abstention.
we got 2.
We got
We're
2.
gonna get 2. I think that's,
Whoa.
We're not asking for it now.
There we go.
well, I think that was never the plan, right? Yeah,
I mean, I think we can backfill it if we get.
Okay, let's move on.
yeah.
Let's move on.
All right, item 8E, Spotsylvania Town Center Connector, Mall Court Extension to Town Center Boulevard possible project. This is something that I asked to be put on the on our agenda for discussion because, we all know, right, Route 3 west from 95 is like percent points in the whole region. And the pipeline study that VDOT did right? Recommended some gigantic things that I think we all know are not gonna happen anytime soon, flyover ramps or that kind of thing. It struck me as a small piece, right? Something that we could maybe get some traction on. You know, kind of completing the street network, completing some, completing connections there and see if we can at least get, some amount of relief. Mr. Alves, this is it's on the agenda because the question is that we want to, correct me if I'm wrong about this, spend some money on a small study to try to persuade VDOT that this is a thing that we could do without
Yes,
screwing everything up.
I think we'll find that VDOT will say that until we can find a workable alternative, they don't want to put money into another study to do this.
Okay.
So we would need to spend a little bit of money on a consultant doing something like micro simulation. They use Prism and Synchro to model intersections. Not the same as a long range. This model looks at the traffic movements through an intersection, and you would have to look at an examples. If you have 1 or 2 lanes going north, what would that do to the traffic at that intersection and the off ramp onto I-95? If you have 1 or 2 lanes going south, what would that do? If you have 1 north and 1 south, that do? And then you know, so each of those movements you have to examine in a type of software like that to determine whether there is a workable option. Before VDOT will spend a lot of time and effort on a larger study or effort on this intersection. At the moment, we don't know if there's a workable alternative there because it's a complicated intersection. So you need micro simulation to just establish whether there is a workable option, and VDOT would have to sit on that mini study so that the engineers could be convinced whether there is even a workable solution. The problem, the reason why we say workable is because if you open that up, then unforeseen things happen to that intersection. And so you've got to check whether there is a workable way of doing it. If there's not, there's no point spending a large amount of money on a study. So it's a small amount that you spend on a micro simulation study to determine whether there's a workable option.
Mr. Geffler.
I would be in favor of it just mainly because we've been talking about it for so long. And there's never been an actual look at it beyond, just, anecdotal conversations that we've had. So how much are we talking about for small study?
We don't know. And I don't want to pick a number out of the sky because then what will happen is I'll come back next month and give you a totally different number, and we are asking for an instruction from you to say, please go and get us a quote on what it would cost to do that study. We bring it back to you next month, and then we have information.
That's whether or not that's.
For approval that we get support to at least
Second.
go check and see what the cost would be. I think it's phenomenal that this was even brought up. I mean, I've been a member of FAMPO for a long time. I've never even known that that was an option.
It is in our comprehensive plan.
Yeah, so.
It's in the city's comprehensive plan, so. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Yep. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
We will get you a cost estimate. Thank you.
One more question on that, actually. I know it comes after the vote, but what are the potential funding sources for such a study?
So we need to grasp this nettle because FAMPO only has CMAQ money, STGB money, and CR, carbon reduction funding. We don't have any other funding. So there are only 2 ways of funding anything at FAMPO. We either use some of that money to do studies, which we did for the river crossing study, or we have to go and find a grant. And typically we don't get grants for small amounts of money because it's a very long and complicated process of applying for federal grants. The state, I'm not sure, maybe Mr. Hennion knows better than me, but I'm not sure that there is money available for a small study like that. They do bigger studies. A pipeline study could do it, but a pipeline study's been done and they couldn't find a good option, so they gave up on finding one. So in my view, we would probably have to spend STGB or CMAQ money to do this. Cameras? Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, we'll talk offline with VDOT, but I don't think there's a magic pot of money anywhere. I think we would have to spend some of our own money to get this thing going, and if then a viable option is found, we can then look for bigger grants elsewhere.
Do you have a sense as to what alternatives you're going to ask for as part of this study?
Well, the idea would be to extend that existing road into the mall. So what we've got to know is that one lane either way, is it 2 lanes south, is it 2 lanes north? And then we have to model, because it's at grade, right? They don't want this big concrete flyover. So there are not that many options for at grade. It would be probably like 4 options.
Charles is silver, and then dive down.
So it's a synchronism exercise to find out if there's an option that actually doesn't mess up the whole, intersection.
All right, shall we move on to item 9, correspondence?
So this is just notifying you, there's nothing required. The GWRC board have extended our on-call consultants contracts for a further year. They're on call, so we only use them when we want to. Next September, we cannot extend them any further. They reach the end of their useful life. So in January, we propose to put out a new RFP and go through the whole process to find us new consultants for the next 5 years. So we're just letting you know that the board made that decision to extend our current contract for 12 more months, then we start again.
Mr. Chair, I think it would be interesting, especially since there are some new members of FAMPO, new meaning over the last 1 or 2 years, to look back over the last 5 to 7 years and see what consultants have been used, what the, I think it would, they look at the contract amounts and how many contracts they've had, just to give, kind of doing something like that. Eolus has had a contract with CRE for a long time. So I think that would be interesting for the public. So when you bring that information, will you bring that to
We'll bring a summary of what we've spent over the last 5 years.
5 or 7 years?
It's not a lot of money, but it's not more than like 1.2 million.
I was gonna say, what you consider a lot may not.
It's less than that.
Okay,
It's a lot less than that. I don't know what the actual number is.
okay.
All right, item 10, staff and agency reports.
So,
Mr. Lang.
Mr. Lang,
Over there.
oh, there you are. New seat every day.
Today.
So, FAMPO is going to be hosting an information table along with CWI and the Germanic Community Resource Fair. That will be on November 5th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Center for Your Simple as always, we will post about it about a week out from the event, and if you see it, please promote it as well. And if you happen to be there, then come say hi, take a picture.
Great. Next item is also for Mr.
It's also for Mr. Lang, the policy committee survey.
So the policy survey, as we talked about last month, this is a survey that is exclusively for the policy committee members and alternates. What we have linked here is a paper copy of the survey, but if you're a member or an alternate, you will have received a link last week with a fillable link to the survey. We'll send you another link over tomorrow during our follow-up email. Don't share it to anybody else, or keep it within the policy committee. So
And the purpose is for us just to gauge your general interest and commitment to different topics. If you want us to work on certain things, then you tell us, and we do more of them. If you're tired of hearing about a thing, then you tell us, and we'll do less of them. So it's really just to get your interest, your commitment, things that you think we should do. That'll be your chance to give us feedback. We've never done that before, so we feel like we should ask your opinion.
All right.
And please do it before the next policy meeting, because we want to show the results of the next policy meeting.
Opinions is something I know you guys all have, so that should not be a challenge. All right, the 2026 committee meeting schedule.
So that, we printed a copy for you on the back of your agenda. And Becky, do you just want to go through those 2 dates that we want to just query you on? Every year we have 1 or 2 days where the normal day for our meeting falls on a public holiday. And so then we try and accommodate an alternative. And we just want to check what you want us to do this time for these 2 public holidays.
Right, there are options in January and February. Either the yellow option is to have it as, and last year we went to the same option and you all chose to have a different date than GWRC. So tonight in January and February, if you look at the dark gray, if we have the meeting on January 12th and February 9th, it would have a start time of 6 o'clock. If we went to the 26th, to avoid the holiday in January, or the 23rd, be the late start time with GWRC starting at 6 o'clock, and we would then start at 7:30.
So people have
Like I said, last year you opted for that earlier date so that it would be a different day than GWRC with a 6 o'clock start time. You wouldn't have that marathon long time. Some folks are on both committees.
I think it's a lot.
Yeah, I vote we.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes, and also I don't like training GWRs.
Right,
Yeah.
Or if you're only on FAMPO, you have to wait till 7:35,
right.
and that's a late night. Staff really likes the.
Well, we are on the subject of schedule. I'd like to bring back up my idea of the spring taking FAMPO on the road for a couple of meetings. Hosting our policy committee meeting once, you know, if we are invited by the folks in Pennsylvania, once by the folks in Stafford. I was thinking February and April, if that works for people. And if the committee is amenable to that idea, I can ask Mr. Allis, Mr. Lang to kind of work on arrangements for that. And hopefully that's something we can publicize a lot. For me, the point of it is to get, you know, folks in those other jurisdictions, give them an opportunity to come and speak to us and see our meetings, right? So they don't think of it as a thing that only happens in the city. So I'd propose February and April if that works for people. Okay.
We will reach out to the administration of the 2 counties to find a date, sorry, not a date, to confirm that they are, have a venue available on those dates.
Right, figure out whichever makes most.
Okay, we'll do that for you.
Yeah. All right, now it's item 11, board member and chair comments. Does anybody have anything? No. All right, then I adjourn this meeting and we meet again on November 17th at 6 o'clock.
Thank you all for your time.
7:48.
I thought it was going to be a late meeting. I was to the